Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy So, and welcome back to another Heat playoff post game recap. This one is presented by Empire Boutique. That's where you can go get your City of Champions shirt like this one right here, and they're sponsoring this amazing segment. Now, we got to get into this game one Eastern Conference Finals matchup versus the Boston Celtics. He come away with the victory 123 to 116. And while that score may seem a little bit closer, the Heat really dominated the entire second half, especially fourth quarter where they made some big plays. But we got to start in the beginning, right? First quarter was a little bit of a toss-up. Both of these teams came out very disciplined, very energetic, and they both tried their best to kind of take control, right? Bam was getting his points early and often. Boston threes were keeping them in the game. They were actually shooting really well in the first quarter from three, and it looked like they were just they were getting easier baskets offensively. But a storyline that we've seen here for the Heat, the bench continues to show up for this team. Vincent, Lowry, Martin, all three of those guys had amazing first quarters and ended up having really big contributions towards the end of the game as well. You know, Lowry was on fire in the first quarter. He had 13 points, 5 of 6 shooting. Boston really hit a lot of free throws in that first quarter. Made 9 of 11, really kept them in it. Some questionable calls by the refs, obviously, but you know the key points in that first quarter was keeping Tatum in check, keeping Brown in check. One thing that we couldn't get away from was Marcus Smart. Man, that guy was on fire tonight as far as his impact on the game with the assist. Ended up having double-digit assists in the first half. Ended up with 10. I think he ended up the game with 13 or 12. So that he did a better job of shutting him down once he came back from his little injury in the third quarter. But you know, Boston was owning the paint, and the Heat were really making big three after big three after big three. And we talk about Bam and how we wanted him to perform more of late. I'm looking here at his first half numbers, and this guy was amazing. He had 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists while defending their best player. So in that first half, right, that the Heat were down 66 to 57 to go down in the first half, we saw what Bam's impact was doing. And again, a key to this game for the Heat offensively is getting Bam going early. It opens up the floor for everybody else, and we saw the advantage being taken by the Heat with us hitting so many threes. Like I mentioned, the three ball was really working for the Heat. They ended up going, they ended up going 10 of 13 from three. You know, shot 50 above 50% for the entire game from three. Shot, what was it here? 16 of 31 from three, 51%, compared to Boston's 10 of 29 for 34%. So the thing that the Boston Celtics really wanted to take away from this Heat team, they couldn't. And that was the big three after big three after big three. One thing that I did notice in the game is that our defense was really ratcheted up. Yeah, they hit those 60 points in the first half, 66 points. But a lot of that felt like the game got a little bit away from the Heat in the second quarter, where offensively we couldn't get anything going, and Boston was just finding answers. They were hitting threes from everybody on their bench. One thing that I will say this though, the Heat are never out of a quarter. Even in as that second quarter was ending, they were down 13 at one point and then cut it down to I think 7 before Boston pushed it to 9 before the half. And once the Heat came back from the halftime, it was like a brand new Heat team. Put up 46 points on the Celtics. Yes, 46 points on them. At one point, it was 35 to 18. Celtics getting outscored by 17 points in the third quarter. Not only did that allow the Heat to come back in that quarter, it really gave us a big boost of momentum. We saw some big plays from guys that we really expected to have some type of contribution, right? Strus was making big threes in the third quarter. We saw Kevin Love come up with some big defensive stops, rebounds, and outlet passes, including one to Strus. The three ball was a big factor. You know, you have to credit the Heat for shooting so well tonight from 3-point when they needed it. Getting outscored in the paint 66 to 40 something is definitely not the way that the Heat want to go, right? 62 to 40. It's a bad position for the Heat to put themselves when they give up points in the paint. They lose the offensive battle, right? Robert Williams had 4 offensive rebounds in the first half, really hurt us. But in this third quarter, we not only did we see the Heat turn up the offense, right, and really get good looks. A lot of that came from the fast breaks. A lot of that came from, stopping Boston on their shots, getting the defensive rebound, and running the floor. It was such a huge swing in the game, right? Once the Heat got that lead, it's like they never looked back. And honestly, it never really got close for the Celtics, except for like within the last 2 minutes where they got it down to, I believe, 4. But in the fourth quarter, the guy that we rely on all the time, Jimmy Butler, steps up and does his thing. Man, what else can I say about Jimmy Butler? 34 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 6 steals, less than 3 turnovers. Only one other guy has had a stat like that in a playoff game. You might have heard of him. His name is Michael Jordan, and that was in 1989. Jimmy continues to be the force that drives this Heat team. 12 of 25, 35 points, like I said, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, 7 assists, which is huge, 6 steals, a career high for him in the postseason, and even had a 3-point, 2 3-pointers made, including the one in the fourth quarter that really iced the game for them, right? Boston was creeping and trying to make the game a little bit closer, and Jimmy just stepped up and does what Jimmy does for this Heat team, which is be the superstar that everybody down here in Miami knows that he is, but nationally he doesn't get that respect. They talk about playoff Jimmy, but a lot of people take that as a gimmick. Like if he's the one that says, "Oh yeah, I'm playoff Jimmy." No, that's everybody else who's talking about Jimmy Butler based on the performances that he's giving. And when a man is on fire like that and literally taking charge of the entire unit, both offensively and defensively, there's not a lot of people in the NBA that are in the playoffs right now still doing that and doing it at such a high level. Jimmy Butler is the highest scorer average for this playoff run, and it has another 30-point game tonight when we know that we need everything that we would need from him in order to get this game 1 on the road, which is hard. Speaking of game 1s on the road, the Heat are now 3-0. Right, we took the game in Milwaukee, game 1. We took the game in New York, game 1, and now we take the game 1 here in Boston. Just shows you that this Heat team is a lot more dangerous than people wanted to give them credit for. And that's okay with us because guys like Jimmy, guys like Bam, right, who ended up with a double-double, 20 points, not a double-double, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, very active defensively, really neutralized their abilities to get offensive rebounds after the first half, and showed what this team is really made of. And again, I said it on the podcast, we need to get help from everybody else, right? Where you get double figure points from everybody else. Caleb Martin tonight had 15 points. Kyle Lowry, 15 points. Max Strus, 15 points. Gabe Vincent, 15 points. Even Kevin Love ended up with 8 points, and he had a rough stretch, but he hit 2 big threes for us. Had 6 rebounds as well. Those are performances that if the Heat get that from their bench players, their unsung heroes, they're going to be able to win games like this on the road easily. Like I said, this score is a little bit misleading because of how it ended. But if you watch that fourth quarter, the Heat never looked razzled. The Heat never looked like they were losing the grip on the game. And this is a team that went 3 minutes plus without scoring a bucket in this fourth quarter as the game was winding down. So you know that that's not going to happen again for the Heat, right, where they have that big lull. And we still went out there and dominated Boston. We really neutralized Jaylen Brown, in this game. He ended up with 22 points, a quiet 22 points, in my opinion. Jason Tatum, I said earlier that he played well, but in the fourth quarter, he disappeared. 0 for 3 field goals, only had his points from the free throw line, and really couldn't get anything going for himself offensively. So when you tell me that, Tatum has 30, Brown goes off for 22, you get a really good contribution from Robert Williams. Malcolm Brogdon, he hits 19 points. That was pretty much the best shot that the Celtics had. And we still were able to overcome that quite easily and do it as a team, right? Again, some of the stats that go unnoticed when people look at the box score: assists, the Heat had 20, Boston had 22. Cool. Steals, 12 for the Heat, 6 for Boston. We both ended up with three blocks. But those are game-winning plays, and even the coach of the Celtics, Mazzulla, he was even saying that he had higher energy and was, competing more. Now, after the post game or during the post game conference, he mentioned something stupid, which I didn't like, which is, oh, they won the 3 quarters, so they felt like they did show up to the game. No, playoff basketball is not about winning quarters. It's about doing all the necessary work throughout the entire game, staying in it if you're down, staying focused if you're up, and completing the task at hand. And that's inexperience as far as coaching goes. So if he thinks that they should have won this game because they dominated the quarters or won more quarters than the Heat, he's got another thing coming, because Spo made the adjustment coming out of the second half. He said, Boston's attacking the paint too much. We need to shut that shit down. They had 40-something points in the first half in the paint, and then the rest of the game, they barely even get 20. Those are defensive adjustments that Spo is going to be able to make continually throughout this series that I don't think Missoula is going to be able to do. And this is just how the Heat can make this series a lot shorter, right? Because of the Spo experience. Now, I'm expecting Boston to come out in their second game on Friday night and really throw out their best punch. But I think the Heat are set in their ways, and they're comfortable knowing that this is going to be a drag them out type game and series every single time. And I think they're prepared for that mentally. Like I said, nobody was getting frustrated with each other. Everybody was making big plays, boxing out, especially Robert Williams. There was at least 3 plays where Boston had shot a 3, missed it, and we had 2, 3 guys on Robert Williams, who was the only guy really getting offensive rebounds for the Celtics. You neutralize that, that's a loose ball, and the Heat were winning those loose balls. Those are stats that don't come up in the team stats, But if you look at the points over turnovers, he won that battle. 25 points off of turnovers. Like I said, they were able to make clutch shots. Were really good from the free throw line, 15 and 19, and just shows you how, even though they may not win the stat battle, we're always going to make game-winning plays, especially when you got a guy like Jimmy Butler. Now, I do want to say something special about Kyle Lowry. He looks like he's back in championship mode. And for that guy to be such an asset off the bench for us is really taking this Heat team to a next level. It kind of reminds me of what Dragic was giving us in that bubble run, right? Where we had Dragic coming off the bench at times, and he would just come in and be a spark and be that experienced point guard, experienced leader on the floor when Jimmy's probably getting some rest or Bam is probably getting some rest. It just shows you that having experience and having the will as a player to play your role can go really far on a team. And Kyle Lowry, man, has been really felt this entire playoff series for the Heat. And in order for us to keep rising to the occasion, we're going to need those performances from him. We're going to need performances from Caleb Martin, who shot aggressively tonight from 3 and made some really big shots. Strus hit some big threes as well. When you let those guys get rolling, that just makes us even harder to beat, man, because now, and we saw it down the stretch, Jimmy's going to back it down, probably wait till the defense collapses on him, and then try to find the open guy. And the open guy was willing and able to make the shots. And that's what we did tonight to get this big game 1 on the road, 123-116. Like I said, we neutralized Jason Tatum in the fourth quarter completely. We really didn't allow Jaylen Brown to pop off in the fourth quarter. So when it came down to making defensive championship winning plays, the Celtics were not able to do it, and the Heat were. That's going to be a big factor. I said it on the podcast. This is probably the best defensive unit we've seen for the Heat in the playoffs in a real long time. And that goes back to the LeBron James days with Chris Bosh and D Wade. Because D Wade was a monster, and we had a guy like Chris Bosh holding down every single rebound. This team, man, is really full of belief right now. And that's a hard thing to take away, that momentum, that confidence. Boston's going to have to go into game 2 on Friday night and really give it their all to try to, salvage whatever they can on their home court. But the Heat are going in there to win 2 games. I'll tell you that much. I know that Jimmy Butler is very focused. He kept his press conference short. He didn't want to answer too many questions because he knows that this job's not done. It's the first of 4. And the Heat are only focused on winning, pure and simple, winning every game, winning every battle, winning every loose ball, winning every possession, winning every half court, trap. Anything that happens in the game at that moment, the Heat are trying to win it. And that's the difference between the two teams. I don't think this Boston Celtics team really has that grit. You're not going to get another 10 plus assists from Marcus Smart, right? You're not going to get another good performance from the free throw line like you did from Jason Tatum. So the Celtics are really going to have to scramble right now and figure it out, because they didn't look good. And this Heat team is much better than that 76ers team that they've struggled with and went to 7 games. So in order for the Celtics to really make this a series, they're going to have to find a new level to play at. Good luck to them. Jimmy's already feeling it. He's feeling very home at Boston. And I think Bam is too. Bam has been criticized a lot this playoff run so far. And I think that he's just taking a bigger step towards being that star player that we want him to be. 20 points tonight, 8 rebounds. Big performance for a guy who's always giving up size. I'm interested to see if Spo plays him more throughout the series instead of relying on Cody Zeller. Zeller was pretty much the only negative for the Heat tonight, right? Where his minutes really led to either bad offensive possessions or giveaways on defense that Boston was able to take advantage of. This game one was extremely important. It really sets the tone for the rest of the series. It reminds Boston that the Heat are here and they're real and they're a real contender. So, any type of predictions that are being made, any type of thoughts that are being had about this team in a negative light are definitely not true and based on nothing but ridiculousness. And right now, the Heat are heading towards game 2 with a lot of confidence. You guys know what to do, man. You go check out and follow Empire Boutique. They're going to be keeping your boy fresh throughout this playoff run right now that we got in the Eastern Conference Finals. Make sure to follow them on Instagram. And the next thing you got to do is tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about these Heat post-game recaps that we're bringing you on Sports with Social YouTube page. Hit the subscription button. Make sure you guys are hitting that notification as well so you guys are in tune whenever we're dropping these. Until next time, peace.